Yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Lisa Johnson, and I'm the Assistant Dean for International Study. Normally on campus. Right now, I'm in my home in Keene, New Hampshire. And we're going to be doing a brief presentation to provide some information about different study abroad programs that are conducive to the environmental science and policy majors. And before I go any further, I was wondering if we can maybe do a round of introductions, maybe starting with the folks, Leslie and Joanne and Brittany, followed by Sydney and Ella, and then followed by the rest of the students who are here with us today. So Leslie, do you want to start?
Okay, hi everybody. Yeah, sure. I'm Leslie King, and I am currently the chairperson of Environmental Science and Policy. I'm a sociologist, and I've been participating in the Environmental Science and Policy program since 2002. So.
My name is Joanne Bankley, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Environmental Science and Policy Program and also of the Center for the Environment, where I help to direct the environmental concentration. I'm also an Ada Comstock Scholar alum of Smith College, and so I've been, as Leslie said, part of ES&P and all things environmental at Smith since 2003.
Brittany, you're up next.
Great. I wasn't sure. My name's Brittany. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an environmental science and policy liaison. I'm also an Ada Comstock Scholar, and I'm about a junior. And yeah.
Great, thanks. And then Sydney and Ella?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Sydney. I am an ES&P major at Smith. I'm a senior. I studied abroad last fall. And I also this year am the study abroad peer advisor. So if you email studyabroad@smith.edu, I will be one of the first people who gets that email. You can schedule a meeting with me to discuss study abroad process and such. Yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Ella. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior ES&P major, and I studied abroad last semester, so I was there for 6 weeks before I was drafted.
That's right. Yeah, right. So Yana, sorry.
Yeah, hi, I'm Yana. I use she, her pronouns. I live in Northampton, and I'm a first year.
Great, welcome. Jingwen?
Hello, I'm Jingwen. I use she, her pronouns. I'm dialing from Beijing, China, and I'm a first year. So apart from environmental studies, my interest also includes econ and government.
Great. Audrey?
Hi, I'm Audrey. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a first year, and I'm undecided for majors, but I'm interested in ES&P.
Yasmin or Yasmin?
Hi, I'm Yasmin. I'm also first year at Smith. I'm leaning towards ES&P, but I'm not really sure. And I'm living in New York right now.
May we?
Yeah, hi. My name is Mei Hui. I'm a sophomore. I double majored in quantitative economics and environmental science policy. I also have a concentration called community engagement social change. So that's a lot.
Oh. Yeah. Great, welcome. Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a first year and I'm leaning towards environmental science and policy. And I'm calling in from Roseville, California.
And Charavi or Charavi?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Charavi. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm a first year student. I'm joining you from Nepal, and I'm too leaning towards environmental science and policy for my major.
Great. And last but not least, Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm a sophomore. I use she, her pronouns. Right now, I have yet to declare, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to declare in ES&P.
Good. All right. Well, welcome everybody, and I like the wide variety of interests and thoughts and things like that. It's one of the things I think that what makes Smith exciting, but it also makes the environmental science and policy majors exciting because there's so much that can be done with it, depending on how you want to take it and things like that. What we're going to do today, I'm going to talk briefly a little bit about some of the options, like I said, that are good to are conducive to the major. And then we'll hear from Sydney and Ella and have them talk to you about their experience as ES&P majors studying abroad. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. One of the exciting things that, again, at Smith is that pretty much anywhere you study abroad can be conducive to your major. So what the joy and challenge of deciding where to study abroad is going to be, what is it that you want to do and how do you want to do it, right? And by that, I mean, do you want to go abroad and get a full semester or a full year of credit to count towards your major? Or do you want to go abroad and use study abroad as outside the major exploration, which is perfectly fine. Study abroad is a great venue for that if you decide that you want to take all of your classes and your major requirements at Smith. The vast majority of the students tend to look for programs where they can do similar to what they do when they're on campus or taking classes at Smith, where you could do 1 or 2 courses that would count towards your major, and then 1 or 2 courses to count outside the major and stuff. And so again, with that, I think with our list of approved programs, the sky's the limit in terms of deciding what you want to do and how you want to do it. The other thing you need to think about is the type of program you want to participate on. And by that, I mean that we have what we call field-based programs. And those are programs that have the students primarily out in the field. Most of their academic design is based on experiential learning. So you're learning by doing. And most of the programs offer a research or a directed study opportunity where you can conduct some research and potentially use that for something during your senior year or beyond Smith and stuff. There's other programs where you can directly enroll in a university as a visiting student. And you would be taking 100% of your coursework along with all of the other degree seeking students at that university. And so that's kind of an interesting opportunity as well, because you have the full university's curriculum to choose from, to pick and choose your courses and things like that. And then the type of program that is in between the field-based program and a direct enroll university, it would be what we call a hybrid program, where there is a designated center, and students will be taking potentially 1 or 2 classes at that center, that study center, and then taking 1 or 2 courses at the local university. A variation of that example is where you would be it's a study abroad program designed specifically for study abroad students coming from US colleges and universities. And they have designed their curriculum to the extent where the classes are offered for all of the students on the program. They're generally divided by track, by subject area, and they would include excursions and things like that. So the other thing you need to be thinking about is, how do you want study abroad to fit into your major or not? What is the type of program you want to do? And then from there, I would say even 3rd or 4th question is destination and where you want to go. So be thinking as much, in terms of your academics, as well as your personal goals, and then that should inform where it is that you want to go. And so fortunately, we have programs available in all regions of the world. And so depending on what you're wanting to do, you can look at some of these things in the Middle East, or on the African continent, or in Asia, or Latin America, or Europe, and stuff. And so again, in Oceania, it's up to you to decide how you want to and where you want to do these things. I'm going to shift now. I'm going to share my screen and talk and show you some examples of some of the programs that I'm talking about. What I'm showing you today is not the do-all end-all to what's out there, but it will give you an idea of what your opportunities are. So the first one is called the School for Field Studies. It's a field-based program. And again, as I mentioned, their academic approach and teaching approach is getting students out in the field and really learning by doing. The students on these programs contribute to a wider research agenda that has been established by the host community and by researchers that in the field that of which that is their work and stuff. They have programs, as you can see here, in Cambodia and Kenya and Costa Rica, Turks and Caicos, and so on and so forth. And it's a pretty popular program for environmental and science policy students. The next program is called SIT Study Abroad. And SIT Study Abroad offers many, many, many different types of programs, and they divide their programs by global issue. And so one section of their global issues is climate and the environment. And again, similar to School for Field Studies, these are all field-based programs based on experiential learning. And again, they're throughout the world. My screenshot could not take a picture of all of the programs that they offer here. This is just some of them. And I think even though this picture here of Ecuador is a virtual internship, Ella was actually on the the comparative ecology and conservation program, which is right next here. So we'll be able to hear a little bit more about that as well. The next type of program, also field-based, is ARVA Institute. This is, for me, is one of the most fascinating programs out there as you get to be in Israel, looking at environmental issues as well as learning about conflict resolution between Israelis and Palestinians. And the program is designed to help with that as well as address and study environmental issues. And Sydney participated on this program, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that as well. So again, some really exciting field-based programs of which you can get a lot of experience in the field. The other program that is interesting, this is in DIS in Copenhagen in Denmark. It puts you in Western Europe, and they have a track called Environmental Science of the Arctic. And this is the type of program where all of the participants on this program are going to be from US colleges and universities. Students are not taking classes at the local university necessarily. Well, they're not. I know they're not. But the curriculum is designed specifically for students who are interested in environmental science. And all of the programs that I've mentioned thus far include excursions to different parts of the country or in neighboring countries where it's appropriate. And there's many direct enroll opportunities. Where a lot of the Smith students go they tend to go to New Zealand for environmental science and policy. And in fact, I forgot to add our Frontiers Abroad program to this presentation. Frontiers Abroad is based in New Zealand, where again, you have some field-based opportunities in research, and then you're also taking classes at these local universities, either in Auckland or in Christchurch at the University of Canterbury. You can also go directly to these universities, and this would be an example of where the students would be taking 100% of their coursework at the university alongside degree-seeking students who are also enrolled in that institution. As I said, there's many more. I put New Zealand up just because that's a common destination for environmental science and policy students. And then here, also on our website, and because we're talking about the environment, we do have on the Smith Study Abroad website information about sustainable travel. And so in as much as you're exploring your programs and seeing what, if anything, they're doing with regards to sustainable travel, here on this website, you can find some links about planning your own sustainable travel and things that you can be doing on your own. For those of you who had joined us early, you heard Leslie and I talking about a workshop that she had attended as the conversation in the field of international education and in the field of study abroad is how can we do better with that, and how can we promote sustainable travel. And this is my last slide here. This is just the list of students who were abroad last year during 19 and 20. Here you can see Sydney's up at the top with ARAVA, Ecuador, Turks and Caicos' marine science program. Here's the Denmark program I mentioned. This 21st century program is in China. This is an example of a student who likely decided to use her study abroad experience for outside the major credit. I feel fairly certain she was not taking ES&P classes on this program, but nevertheless, study abroad, she wanted to use that for outside the major. We could also have the Smith programs in Hamburg and Florence and Paris, which could be conducive to environmental science and policy majors, depending on what they're looking for, language preparation, et cetera, et cetera. And then here, example of a direct enroll, Queen Mary University is in London. So the student was taking classes there as a direct enroll student. And then Australia Rainforest, that's, I can't remember if it's SIT or SFS. So they both have programs in Australia. So, and their names of their programs are very similar. So I don't remember which one this is. So that is the end of my section that I was going to talk about. And I'm happy to answer questions about that. But maybe this now would be a good time to hear from Sydney and Ella, if you can talk a little bit about, how did you decide to go where you went? And what was your experience like while you were there, albeit brief, Ella, I know. And then if did you what were any takeaways that you might have had? So, who wants to start? You can choose.
I can go first. And I also want to start by saying that Ella and I both are representing like the field-based programs that Dean Johnson was just describing. And so I did reach out to somebody, an ES&P major who went on DIS in Copenhagen last year. She was unable to join us today, but I will put her email address in the chat when I'm done talking about my experience, because she said, anyone is welcome to reach out to her about DIS. Yeah, so I went on the Arva Institute for Environmental Studies, which is located in southern Israel, very much in the middle of the desert, as you could see in the picture. So the goal of the Arva Institute is to examine environmental issues through the lens of the conflict, sort of keeping in mind that like the environmental issues that exist in the region don't exist within political borders. And these issues won't wait for a political peace. So as much as we can, work towards cooperation now, the better. And then also maybe, cooperation on environmental issues will hopefully lead to a political peace, as many of the issues that sort of underline the conflict are environmental issues. So the structure of the program is there's about 60 students per semester. A third of them are Israeli. A third of them are Arab students from the Middle East, primarily from Palestine, like what we know of as Palestine now, and from Jordan. And then a third just like other international students. So most of the other international students my semester were like typical like American junior year abroad students. But we had students from Kenya, from India, from France, Brazil, Canada, and Morocco. So it was an awesome semester. And yeah, that's a little bit about Arava. I first heard about the Arava Institute when I was a first year. I was sitting down with who would be someone who would become my advisor later. It was really the first time I ever like spoke to an ES&P professor. I thought I was going to be a government major. And she was just sort of asking me like what I was interested in, what other classes I was taking. And I mentioned I was taking Hebrew. And she was like, oh my gosh, you should totally go on this program. It sounds right up your alley. And I did look at other study abroad programs when I actually like got around to applying. But I kind of never forgot about Arava. It was sort of always the first thing in my mind when I thought about studying abroad. So that's how I heard about it. My experience there was great. I don't know how else to describe it. It was intense. a really, really intense semester in all of the best possible ways. Yeah, it's definitely a kind of program that will keep you busy all the time. But it's also, it was just a really great opportunity. Like, if you're someone who just like wants to, you know, not wear shoes and go into the desert and like talk about really intense political conflicts with people who have lived these conflicts, then like this is definitely the program for you. Yeah, and maybe just one piece of advice that I would give to anyone considering this program is just to keep in mind that, like, especially as a Smith student, the majority of the learning that you will do at Arava will not be in the classroom necessarily. Like, all of my classes were great and my professors were great, but a lot of the content was pretty similar to stuff I'd already learned at Smith. A lot of the classes are more on the introductory level, which is fine. I mean, again, like, a lot of the students in the program hadn't had a college background, and most of them don't have English as a first language. So it definitely made sense. And of course, like, it's from a different perspective, right? Like, the case studies all pertain to the Middle East, not to like Western Massachusetts, which is often like the focal point of Smith classes. But sort of like, as, you know, a student not from the Middle East, a lot of what you do is listen and learn. And yeah, I definitely learned, I think, more from just like the other stuff that we did outside the classroom. Like, there's a peace building seminar that everyone takes. We did a lot of like excursions, extracurricular stuff, and then just like your free time, your communal time, just like sitting outside with all of the other students and like listening to them talk about their lives. Like, that was some of the most important learning that I did there. Yeah, that was Arava.
Thanks. Just sorry, Ella. Just before sorry, Sydney brought up a good point that I neglected to point out. So while I was talking about field-based programs and where a lot of the learning is done in the field, it doesn't mean that there's not an academic component. There are classes that you have to take. There are papers that you have to write and things like that. There is definitely classroom time, but as Sydney expressed, a lot, if not the majority of the learning happens outside those classroom environments. So. Okay, Ella, your turn.
Okay. So I went on the program through SIT in Ecuador called Comparative Ecology and Conservation. And like I said before, I was there for 6 weeks, and then I finished the rest of the semester online. So a little bit of a different experience, and hopefully future students will have. But I chose this program mostly because I knew previous ES&P majors who had gone on it and had a really great time. I think in the past few years, at least, there's usually 2 ES&P majors each year who go on it from Smith. So it's a pretty popular program. And it's pre-approved, so it's easy. And I knew that I wanted to take all my classes in Spanish to improve my Spanish, and that I wanted to go to Latin America instead of Spain. And it really appealed to me because of all the excursions. So this is also a field-based program. And I knew that I didn't want to do like scientific field work for like my career, but I really wanted like fun experiences visiting like cool ecosystems. And in this program, there's like an excursion every other week. Sorry, my cat, go away. And so it really felt like we had a week in the city where it was based in Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador. And then we would always be prepping because the next week we would be gone all week for an excursion. So we got a lot of opportunities to see all different parts of Ecuador. And that was definitely the most exciting part. It was definitely a tough, intense semester, like Sydney said too. You know, new country, new friends, new teaching style, new language, host family, a lot of stuff to get used to, but it was also, you know, a lot more exciting too than my other semesters. I would definitely recommend this program more for people who are interested in sort of biology, ecology, and like field research, and more the science side of ES&P. I personally am not actually. I'm more interested in like policy and the humanities, but it was still really fun for me, and I still gained a lot of useful skills, I think, like helped me practice my writing. We did a lot of scientific writing and like designing a research project, because we did an independent research project at the end. And there was also a big theme in the program about mining in Ecuador and petroleum extraction in Ecuador, which really connected to my interests as well. And then during my independent study, I was able to research indigenous social movements against petroleum extraction in Ecuador. And so that I was able to connect it to my interest, even though most of the program was geared more towards like science and biology. Yeah, so I have a lot of other things I could say that were more specific to the program if anyone wants to ask me questions, but I don't want to like get too much into this particular one. So I think I'll leave it there.
Thank you. We are now moving to the, unless Leslie and Joanne or Brittany, you want to say anything, we are moving to a section of Q&A. Before we get to that though, one of the things I like to talk to ES&P majors about is potentially, where it makes sense, if it makes sense for you, to study abroad for the year and do what we call a two-location petition. And the reason I say that is because there's lots of majors out there, but particularly the ES&P major is very conducive to students who want to get experience in the field, like doing a program that Sydney or Ella participated on, and they also want to take classes at the local university. And so doing a combination of things between, let's say, Israel and New Zealand or Ecuador and Denmark, that's possible. And you do have to petition and you have to articulate your reasons as to why you want to do the combination. But again, the ES&P major is very conducive to that. I remember a student wanting to study both Arctic and Antarctic environmental issues. So again, Denmark and New Zealand, and she was at the University of Canterbury, which is in the southern island of New Zealand. She was able to find courses that had excursions to the Antarctic and stuff. And so I'm just going to throw that out there in terms of things that are possible within the ES&P major. And so I don't know, Leslie and Joanna and Brittany, anything to add from your side?
I don't think I would necessarily add. I would say, you know, over the years, I've had quite a few advisees, environmental science and policy advisees, who've done all of these different programs. And it almost always they come back feeling like they're glad they did it. So I would just throw that out there.
I would just echo that. And I think Sydney put in the chat Greta's contact information for the DIS program, which is another one that we regularly send students to, especially those interested in sustainability. But any of these programs are excellent programs.
And I guess I will also add, since I was the faculty director of the program in Paris last year, and I got to know our Europe programs a little bit better, I think there's lots of environment related classes you can do in the European programs that Smith runs. So you could consider those, even though they don't have a specifically environmental focus, a student who wants to, you know, work on a language and also just take ES&P courses and maybe investigate, you know, what kinds of cool renewable energy things they're doing in Germany or whatever. That's another option.
That's a good point. And just having been working directly with all of the directors of the Smith programs, Jutta Goodsite, who is our director in Hamburg, has reminded me that Hamburg is the green capital, or was really designated as the green capital. So, you know, that could be a cool place to go to study. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Any questions, either be it general or specific, that we can help you with?
I've got a little bit of a stupid question.
There's never such a thing. There's never such a thing. So.
Did you say you have to be an ESP major to go on one of these environmentally? No? Okay. So if I was more interested in engineering, I could also like gear that towards sustainability.
Yeah, yes, that's true. One of the things you could look into though is make sure that if there's any prerequisites for the course, and Ella, maybe you can talk if whether prerequisites for the Ecuador program, like having to have taken at least one entry level STEM course, or some courses are gonna, some of the programs are gonna have science-based prerequisites in order to be eligible, but it doesn't mean you have to be majoring in that. Ella, was there a prerequisite for Ecuador?
I think there might have been a science one. I can't quite remember, but there was definitely like 4 semesters of Spanish.
And to that, Yana, I would recommend specifically looking into the School for Field Studies programs. And the reason I say that is because they are starting to, while they're environmental science focused, they are starting to provide some more learning opportunities to apply engineering knowledge to the issues that they're looking at, be it water flow or, you know, it depends on where you're going and the country that you're in. But they're definitely opening up those opportunities to apply knowledge that you've gained in your engineering courses to a certain environmental issue.
That's great.
Any other questions? Sydney's saying SIT Iceland. Yes. Yeah, because of geothermal as well. Absolutely. Good job. Sydney, I've forgotten about Iceland. Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So are there opportunities maybe summertime to study abroad that doesn't revolve around institutional credit? Because at the point in my Smith career, I can't bring in any more credit, but I'm still interested in contributing and experiencing all the things that study abroad can offer.
Yeah, so all of the programs that I've mentioned offer summer sessions as well. While they are credit, they offer credit, you do, during the summer, you're not obligated to transfer that credit back to your Smith record. So you can participate on the program and you'll get a transcript from them, but you don't have to apply it to your, you can, for those of you who want to, you can, but you don't have to. So yeah, I don't know, Sydney, does Arva have a summer session? They may not. It's too hot.
Yeah, I think they have an internship over the summer, but I would not want to go down there during the summer. It would be at like 120 degrees every day.
Yeah.
That does sound nice right now when it's like 13 degrees out. So maybe.
Yeah. But and even the direct enroll universities now are offering summer sessions. It's funny. Keep in mind, summer session in the Southern Hemisphere is really, our summer is their winter. And so you got to keep that in mind. You're like, oh, summer, but then it's freezing cold in Christchurch, New Zealand, because it's way down there. You know, stuff. So, yeah.
I'll chime in with one just comment about the environmental science and policy requirements and how those work with study abroad. We have 4 core requirements: the intro class, the 202, 201 research methods course, the environmental communications course 311, and the capstone 312. And so when you plan your study abroad, you want to sort of plan around being sure that you get those, make sure you'll have time to get those core courses done. It's hardly ever a problem because those are the only ones you would have to take at Smith, but they're very hard to find. They are findable at other institutions and in some of the study abroad programs, but they're not that easy to find. So for example, I also teach sociology, and our required courses in sociology, like sociological theory or research methods in sociology, you can take those in Paris or Geneva, but these core environmental science and policy courses can be hard to find elsewhere. So just throwing that out.
I would add along those lines, especially for the first year students, you know, if study abroad is a goal of yours, to start having those conversations with your liberal arts advisors now. And as first years, you don't need to be very specific necessarily. It can just be an idea in terms of what you would like to explore and things like that. But your liberal arts advisor can help you move around those pieces that Leslie's talking about in terms of what courses should you be planning on taking at Smith, which courses are okay to take abroad, and then figuring out the order of those things as well is important. For those of you who are sophomores, if you're planning to study abroad during your junior year, which would be during 2021, 2022, you need to be having more specific conversations with the person who is your major advisor or who will be your major advisor. And I just want to point out that one of the requirements to be approved to study abroad is to declare a major. And so having conversations again with that person to help you figure out how, again, to put all of your 8 semesters or whatever, how many semesters you have at Smith, put all those pieces together and fit study abroad into that. So at all points of your advising experience, if study abroad is a goal for you, I highly recommend bringing those conversations to the table.
I would just say for all of you, right, that most of you are first years. Sam, I think you might be the only sophomore here. So the way ES&P works is that if you're intending to declare a major, that you reach out to me and I match you up with a faculty advisor. You are able to connect with, you know, if you take a class with Professor King and you really like her and you want her to be your advisor, you can approach her, but she may tell you to come to see me because we try to balance our advising load among our faculty. So if you think you're, you know, if next fall, if you think you're going to declare ES&P, go ahead and reach right out to me as soon as you start thinking that, and I'll connect you with a faculty advisor so that you can start doing that longer term planning and get yourself set up for being able to successfully apply for an experience in a, you know, study abroad.
The other piece I would add to those conversations as well is language preparation. So if you're going to a country where English is not the first language and the coursework is taught in the local language, there are prerequisites to have completed before you go abroad. For Spanish speaking countries, it's 3 semesters or the equivalent. And before the equivalent means assuming you don't start it with Spanish as a first year student, that you have the Spanish during high school, you likely will test out of the first or the entry level of Spanish. So if you test into 220 or higher, then you're meeting that equivalent. That's what I mean. Same goes for French and then the other languages. There's also in some instances, like in Sydney's case with Arava Institute, the requirement is Hebrew or Arabic, again, because of the nature of the program and stuff. And so you have to have at least 1 year of the language and stuff. Denmark, you don't have to study the language prior to going, but you will have to take Danish language while you're there. And that's okay because I know very few people who speak Danish right now. So most of the students on the Copenhagen program are all starting out at 0 anyways. So and stuff. So think about that in terms of, as well as your language preparation, where you wanting to go, and do you meet those prerequisites? Other questions? No. Yeah. So I will ask. I'll answer a question too that comes up often, especially if you're sophomores, you're thinking about studying abroad during your junior year, or even the first year is thinking into the future. Is study abroad going to be a possibility due to the current COVID situation? Obviously, if I had that crystal ball, I would look into it and say, yes, everything will be fine, but I don't. I'd like to think that as time goes on, the situation will continue to, well, will improve, not continue, because it's not, in some places, not continuing so much, will improve so that the college can support study abroad again. One of the things that you should keep in mind is that Smith has been sending students abroad for more than 90 years. So it's really important. It's part of the fabric and culture of Smith to allow students and provide students with international experiences. So study abroad is not going to go away and stuff. And as soon as we can, it's safe enough to have students come back or to resume travel again, we will do so. I'm hopeful, like I said, that things will be better than they currently are for fall 2021. And as time goes on, the situation will improve. So I would say right now, if you're like, well, do I put in the effort of thinking about studying abroad even if I don't know if I can actually go? I would say yes. Right now, my message to all students is continue with your study abroad plans until a moment comes that says, no, you can't study abroad anymore. And stuff, and move forward with that, because I think it's better to put those efforts in than to not and then miss an opportunity to do so. Any other questions? Well, all right then. Well,
Lisa, Lisa, I was just going to say, I know this is not a study abroad. I wondered if it would be okay if I just mentioned the U.S. programs, the semester programs.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
No problem.
So just in case any of you are interested in marine kinds of issues, I did want to mention that we also have partnership with SEA, which is a Sea Education Association, and there's also a Williams Mystic program, which are based within the United States. They're actually both based out of Massachusetts, and they give students the opportunity to do some, Massachusetts and the Northeast. They offer students an opportunity to take a semester abroad and focus on marine kinds of issues. And again, you don't have to be an ES&P major or minor to participate in those programs. Generally, the process is very different because it's not an international program. So you would have to go through the junior class dean's office to navigate all of the application process and funding if you're looking for financial aid and so forth. But we generally sponsor an information session with those organizations on campus when they're going. So we haven't had them this year because they're on hold, but if they are able to run them next year, we would hold an info session that you could participate in and find out more about those programs. So just wanted to mention those as an aside. If you're interested in marine kinds of issues from whatever perspective, whether that's policy, whether that's research, and more science focused, they're both really great programs, and we regularly send students there as well.
I thank you for that, Joanne. And what's coming to mind for me too is, again, potentially another really exciting opportunity that students could do the Woods Hole or the Sea Semester program and study abroad. And so again, just kind of thinking of all the possible combinations. The interesting thing with that, with the US based programs and study abroad, is you don't have to petition. You can do it. You can decide to do it on your own, and there's nothing that's going to stop you from doing that. So it would mean that you're not on campus for all of your junior year, which is fine. Plenty of students aren't, and stuff. But it also gives you some really exciting learning opportunities that perhaps you wouldn't otherwise get. So
yeah, what made me think of it was Brittany's question about summer programs, because both of those organizations also offer summer programs that students sometimes take advantage of.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, if there aren't any questions, I see that Ella has put her contact information in the chat, so feel free to reach out to Ella as well. Sydney can be reached at studyabroad@smith.edu. I'm Lisa Johnson. Just find me because my email. Yeah, and so yeah, reach out. Also, as I mentioned, I can't emphasize enough to be talking to faculty as well. It's definitely a team effort between the study abroad office and the academic departments to help students figure out their plan and making sure that they're well prepared for it. All right, well, thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for doing this, Lisa.
Thanks,
My
Lisa.
pleasure. Right. Thanks, Sydney. Thanks, Ella.
Yeah, thanks so
Bye,
much.
everybody.
Nice to see you all.